can't make up my mind whether to take my banjo or not. I mean, a banjo. It's not really right on a dirty weekend, is it? After the coffee, the brandy, the red rose, the after eights, just to really get him in the mood, I whip out my banjo and give him a couple of bars of Oh Susanna. It's not quite right, is it? See, I've never been on a dirty weekend before. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, should I pack my sexy underwear? A flash of stocking top during starters? They love all that stuff, don't they, men? They're suckers for it. Arthur Miller married Marilyn Monroe. Well, why did he do that, then? Something to do with frilly pants, I reckon. When I was working on the maternity ward once, an expectant father said to me, "Warm today, eh, nurse? I bet you got your suspenders on." Well, what do you say to that? I'd just been mopping up a cocktail of vomit and blood. Yeah, I said, my knickers are satin when I wear 'em. His eyes lit up like traffic lights. He got a stiffy so quick I could hear it. There was an explosion in his trousers, the rustling of cloth against his crutch like an insane ferret. Erections. They're marvellous. Aren't they marvellous? But there's a time and a place for 'em. What a shame the time, the place and the erection never seemed to coincide. This bloke stood 10 yards from his pregnant wife and was red with lust. For the record, I had on what I call my stout walking knickers. Of course, a dirty weekend's very different from a romantic weekend. I've been on lots of those. A romantic weekend is with someone you're already going out with. You roughly know what it'll be like. The same thing, somewhere else. But a dirty weekend should be all passion and secrecy. And maybe that individual touch. Passion and secrecy and the banjo. But I don't really know, because I've never been on a dirty weekend. I'm really looking forward to the moment when we check in at the hotel. What name will he write in the book? I know it's a cliche, but I really fancy being Mrs. Smith. Hello, reception? Yeah, it's Mrs. Smith. We won't be down for breakfast because Mr. Smith and I have shagged ourselves to a standstill. Eric. He's interesting, Eric. He's not handsome, I suppose. His most exceptional feature is his nose. Well, not because it's big or shaped like a potato, because it's so small. You don't really think a nose is being small, do you? They're either big or they're just a nose. Eric definitely has a small nose. Makes his mouth look large. I'm really looking forward to kissing that mouth. I've never even touched him yet. He's ever so good with the patients. He said to this woman on the geriatric ward the other day, "Have we crapped ourselves, Mrs. James?" And just for a moment, Mrs. James looked really pissed off, but then she laughed. You see, he judged her well, made her feel good. He's judged me well, too. The flirtatious glances, the bold proposition, the even bolder acceptance, and, here we go. The dirty weekend. It didn't go badly. Didn't go badly at all. Went terribly. It was an appalling disaster. It should be on the news. Boing, Foreign Secretary resigns. Boing, dirty weekend in Bournemouth goes horribly wrong. Firstly, within seconds of setting eyes on him, I knew that I didn't really fancy him. I'd forgotten how ludicrous his moustache is. I'd forgotten he even had a moustache. I suppose he grows it to try and shift the focus from his small nose. But the funny moustache, the small nose, the big mouth, make him look like Hitler painted by Picasso. My silk underwear turned to stone cladding in my suitcase. Maybe I was a disappointment to him. I knew he probably wouldn't be interested in Maria Whiteside, Nurse Whiteside, that's who he wanted, that's who they all want. Go to the butcher's in your uniform. Hello, nursey, they beam and stick an extra chop in for free. Sensible Nurse Whiteside. Sexy Nurse Whiteside. Mother and whore. But there again, that's not a bad combination for a dirty weekend in Bournemouth. Maybe if I'd shut my eyes and thought of Florence Nightingale. Maybe if he'd made me laugh a few times. Might have been all right. But no. He'd brought something with him I wasn't expecting. He'd brought his personality. I hadn't reckoned on that. I thought he'd just be uncomplicated Dr. Spencer, but this time with genitals. The name he wrote in the hotel book was Dr. Eric Spencer. He has a personality, just, but even worse, he has a wife. Well, I knew that. I'd been prepared for a couple of my wife doesn't understand me, but actually, Eric's wife, he tells me, does understand him. In addition, she is sensitive, gentle, charming, intelligent. What a cow she must be. I said to him, as the main course arrived, that her being so perfect, it wasn't surprising he wanted to bonk some floozy from the psychiatric ward. He didn't laugh. He agreed with me. Have we crapped ourselves, Mrs. James? I really thought that was funny. But actually, it must have been a lucky hit, because Eric's sense of humour is even less well developed than Eric's nose. He has no sense of humour. I could tell this because during pudding, he started telling me jokes. I hate jokes. His jokes were the same as all jokes. Stupid stories full of gynecologists and anchovies. My mind wandered, and I treated myself to a fantasy about the waiter. He took me wordlessly in the kitchen, the dirty pig. Still, that's what fantasy waiters tend to do. Sex with Eric wasn't weird or anything. He didn't put a Batman costume on or yodel or smear himself in peanut butter. God, I wish he had. He just did the business and turned over, and I felt grubby and dishonest. The next morning, Eric starts on about his wife again. How good she is with the kid, how witty, how gifted she is at crazy golf. Frankly, I had had enough. And I suggested to Eric that, as the wronged wife, her place was at home ironing his socks and hoping that the medical conference wasn't too boring for him. Oh, no, Eric tells me as he carefully brushes down his trousers. She knows all about it. In fact, he has applied to her for permission to come on the dirty weekend. I can help save their marriage. I have been pre-selected by both of them. She is picking him up lunchtime. Eric throws the condom down the toilet and hopes I understand. 2 minutes later, I left the room. 1 minute before that, I got my banjo out. I suppose I've been on a dirty weekend now. Have we crapped ourselves, Mrs. James? I really did think that was funny. She'll be picking them up about now. If she can. He's got a small nose, but he's quite heavy. It takes some moving.